Hello, everyone. My guest today is Rynda Laurel. Rynda, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Excellent. I love to start these episodes by asking my fabulous guests to share a bit about your story and how you got to where you are today, specifically in terms of the work that you're doing.
Yeah, great. I I have such a long story, but I'll try and make it in a nutshell. I have 30 years or so in the entertainment industry, mostly music or brand space. I've worked with hundreds of artists and brands, and I'm a catalyst now, which what that means to me is I take a brand or an artist and look at how I can expand what they're doing. And multiple layers. Sometimes it means getting them a book deal. Sometimes it means marketing, branding, all kinds of things. And that's been my day job for, again, many years. I've had lots of different experiences in that industry. But along with that, on my personal journey, I struggled with addiction in my younger years, in my early 20s, so I've been clean and sober now for 27 years as of last week.
Wow, congrats.
And I also, while I was having this big, fabulous life over in the entertainment industry, I was struggling with depression as well. And so sorry, my phone rang. Okay. So I started researching all this mental health, natural solutions to mental health. And about 3 years ago, I got off medications using all natural solutions. And then I decided I wanted to bring this back to people. The transformation that I've had over the years has been pretty profound, and I wanted to bring it back to people, which brings me to VRYeveryday, which is the wellness brand supplement company that I launched. So we aimed at helping people with natural solutions for mental health.
That's fantastic.
That was the short version.
That was very concise and I totally got it. So brilliant job.
Actually, Richard Branson put a thing out there many years ago that said, what do you do? And in 5 words. And so catalyst, turning ideas into reality.
Wow.
That can also mean turning, what you're doing in your business life into reality, but also what you want to do personally. Like I strive to become a more happier, healthier person. So
but that was more than 5 words you just said there.
No, I mean, it still counts as the catalyst is what I mean.
Oh, I see. Oh, so you're saying you find the what do I do, the 5 words that relate to just sort of your life and your business model. So kind of just getting specific on, that's very, really clever. I need to work on. It's something that I definitely want to work on, just getting clear on what I want to do or what I am doing.
You're doing it.
Thank you. Thanks. Sometimes it's quite difficult to convey that because there's quite a lot of things. So just having something nice and concise like that is essential. So I may be in touch with you about your branding skills and business. So cool. So tell me about you coming to heal yourself or get off these medications, your journey to finding more natural solutions, because that is definitely something of interest for me personally.
Right. Yes. So let's see, about 10 years ago now, I was, again, still struggling with depression and anxiety. I didn't really label it as anxiety, but it's definitely anxiety. And my kind of depression manifested itself by not wanting to deal with the world, sort of close myself in, not wanting to deal with people. And so the doctors decided to put me on Prozac and Wellbutrin. And, look, I think medication can be life-saving. There's no question about it. And for a time, it saved my life. But I also think that in general, things are very overprescribed. And there's all these natural solutions that you can try first. And I started on this journey of researching everything. A handful of books really changed everything for me. One was The Mood Cure by Julia Ross, which talks about amino acid therapy specifically. And Natural Highs by Dr. Hyla Cass, and 7 Weeks to Sobriety by Joan Matthew Larson. Those are the books that I started with. And then I just started devouring everything I could, learning about how nutrition and supplements can really alter your mental health. Now, look, I've been in 12-step programs for a long time. We talk about all kinds, and I've done therapy and all these different modalities. But the reality is, if your biochemistry is off, none of those other modalities work as well. Even the concept of, addiction and mental health as a connection issue. I know you had, is it Jonathan Haidt?
Johan Hari, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
fabulous.
I butchered his name, but he's fantastic. And he's right on target with everything he said. I watched your interview with him, and I've seen his stuff before. However, if your serotonin is low, your vitamin D is off, your thyroid isn't functioning, even getting to that connection point is a really difficult challenge. And so getting to yoga, getting to meditation class, getting to all these, getting to bond with other people, all these other things are more difficult if your biochemistry is off. And as I started really researching all of this, and I'm not a doctor, I'm certainly self-taught, but I have devoured books. I'm certified in a handful of things, nutritional recovery. But as I devoured this, I realized that the key is that you have to make sure that your biochemistry is right on track too. And there's all these things I've learned in the last year alone since I launched VRYeveryday about what that is, what tests you can get, is it gut health? Is it inflammation? It's not always the neurotransmitters, but that's the best place to start, frankly. But it can be inflammation, it can be thyroid issues, it can be hormone issues. And then you start to become a little bit of what I call a health detective to figure out if there's some imbalances there, and then balance those out, then everything works better. Had I known that before I went on medication, I might not have needed medication, and I might not have suffered with some of the side effects of medication. So that's sort of my journey with that.
Right. I'm going to have these books listed in the show notes, because I think that's very important for people to read up on. So you were doing all this research, and what did you discover? What were the types of things that you started taking that were helping?
On a side note, I have a list of all the books on the VRYeveryday website.
Excellent.
So I have a direct link for almost all the books. I'm reading a couple new ones on mental health nutrition that I'm going to add soon, so that'll add it. For me, I did a lot of the research on the amino acid therapy, which means that you take the amino acids directly that help build the various neurochemicals, dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, GABA, those type of neurotransmitters build up. That is help with mood balancing. Specifically, what I did is I found that for me, if I went to a nutritionist, they wanted to put me on 17 different things. So that was too much for me. That's why I created some sort of single formulas that are much easier. I'll show you. Like, for example, the pink cloud that I have. Pink cloud works on serotonin building. So similar to an SSRI, St. John's wort can help that way. It also has holy basil, 5-HTP, and other actually vitamin cofactors actually boost the serotonin and help serotonin levels. The dopamine is the one I use to get off Wellbutrin. So dopamine is just a single herb called Mucuna pruriens, and that one helps to work on the dopamine receptors. It stimulates dopamine. If you have low dopamine tone, you can have the type of apathetic depression that I have. Too much dopamine can be triggering for like addictions. Dopamine is the pleasure neurochemical.
Interesting. Okay. And serotonin is the happy one.
Yes. So look on my stuff. Feel happy. Feel alive.
Oh, I love it. Just to avoid any confusion, so you know what you're getting.
Everything to be simple.
Yeah. And then what's this one? Serenity, feel calm.
Yes, serenity, feel calm. My clients call it, or my customers call this one Nature's Xanax. So anyway.
What is that made out of? The Serenity one. What is Nature's Xanax?
This is mostly GABA. Mostly works on the GABA based. It's got it's basically GABA and some other vitamin cofactors to help with the GABA.
And that's calming. Now, are these? So it's okay to take these all at the same time? Were there any more? Was that the main range?
I have one more because I launched with 5 formulas of the things that people told me they had the most issues with. I've already got like 6 more I want to release. But Rest Well. People told me they had a lot of problems with insomnia. So Rest Well is feel relaxed. It's got valerian root, passion flower, hops, and GABA, and it is basically to help you sleep. It's really good for insomnia. I always suggest
melatonin in there. Was there a reason not to put melatonin, or is melatonin a component of some of these ingredients anyway?
No, I don't use melatonin in my formulas right now. One of the reasons is melatonin works for some people and it doesn't work for other people. Melatonin, in your body, serotonin converts to melatonin. And so if you don't have enough serotonin in the first place, that conversion doesn't work. And so that's why sometimes melatonin doesn't work for people.
Okay.
I suggest sleep issues have a handful of, it's like the iceberg. They have a handful of underlying causes. So if it's the low serotonin because it's not converting to melatonin, then I have them take Pink Cloud and Rest Well together. And hopefully eventually they don't need Rest Well. It's that they have high anxiety issues because they're waking up during the night. It could be GABA. And so I put them with Serenity and Rest Well.
Interesting.
I just don't think melatonin in my formulas, I decided not to use it because
fair enough. Yeah, no, fair enough. And thanks for explaining that. Can they be used all together because you sort of say that they do work well for different things. Is it okay to take them while you're on antidepressants? Because I know with things like St. John's wort, you're advised not to.
Yes. I mean, yes and no. Yes, you're correct. And no for some things. So, for example, the Pink Cloud has the most sort of, because it does have St. John's wort, you don't want to take that with an SSRI or an SNRI because it's doubling up on the serotonin and it's got some interactions. All the interactions are on the website. So yes, you want to be careful with that. I would always recommend to ask your doctor. I found that the other ones, and actually I'll tell you about glutamine in a second, but I found that the other ones are a little bit easier to interact, that don't have major interactions. Dopamine I took while I was coming off Wellbutrin. It was fine. I've had doctors say it's okay with SSRIs because it's working on dopamine. But if you're on Wellbutrin, you want to be careful not to be too. So I would just say always in all situations, if you're on medication, just run it by your doctor. They're going to know your health issues way more than I can, and I'm not going to advise on that.
That makes sense.
But in general, for everything, I would ask your healthcare provider, your practitioner.
And have you found the effects, what for you has been the effects from the medication you were on previously to the supplements that you've sort of created and developed? What kind of differences could you notice, if any?
Well, I'm actually less depressed.
Well, that's a good one.
It's crazy, right?
That's crazy.
I'm actually less depressed. I mean, look, the reality is I also, moved to Joshua Tree, which, is calming and a big difference from living smack dab in the middle of Hollywood. So, I'm not going to say it's only that, but I don't know. Also sort of what I did is I got off medication and I used my supplements, all of them, for about 6 months. And now I don't need them all the time. And I also discovered, there's another thing I discovered. It's something called the MTHFR gene. Have you heard of that?
I have, but I don't. You'd have to explain it, go in a bit more detail. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give everyone the layperson's version of this.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I need it.
Well, because I am a layperson. So. MTHFR gene mutation, you can get tested for it. There's 2 SNPs or genetic SNPs that you want to check for. And if you have this gene mutation, the way it was described to me is your body, it has a tougher time processing folate specifically, which is a B vitamin. So the idea then is if you have that, and even if you don't, I've also been advised that most people can tolerate a methylated B version, is you get a methylated B. And you can get a methylfolate or you can get a methylated B complex, which I will make one. I think things should be taken synergistically, and just taking a B12 or a B6 I think they need to be taken together. Mm-hmm. So, but if you take a methylated B, if you have that, your body absorbs it better, mm-hmm. and it uses it better because it's got an extra conversion on it. Yeah.
So you were saying that the effects that you found of these are feeling less depressed, which is crazy that that you feel that way from not being on medications. And tell us, how is it, what's been your journey since coming off the meds? Obviously you're feeling better. Was it kind of like an immediate effect? Did it take a while? Were you doing other things like talking therapies? Was that part of your healing process before?
So when here's my advice for other people getting off meds. What I did is I cut out sugar and caffeine for a good couple months prior. I was eating really healthy. I was living in Joshua Tree. So I did a lot of that wellness. I've done so much therapy and 12-step work and recovery work and all of that from my years in 12-step programs. And I had done all of that. Yes, I was still doing journaling and yoga and all the other wellness stuff, but it still wasn't 100%. So what I did is I sort of prepped myself emotionally. I told my doctor, who at that point, and unfortunately this does happen a lot, allopathic doctors aren't very, they're not paying that much attention to what they put you on. They just sort of, try.
What does allopathic mean, sorry?
Allopathic is the doctor you go to with your all regular health care.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and so they're not really paying attention to how the things are working. Because that was one of the things that really I struggled with depression and being on antidepressants is it's like you just talk to them for 5 minutes and then they're like, yeah, have this one at this. Like with any other medication, like, I would assume that there would be some kind of testing to make sure that this is the right thing for me or this is the right thing, but it's not. It's just kind of like, we'll see how that one goes. Oh no, that didn't work. All right, we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, there's not like a specific follow-up. Let me see how you're feeling after this week. It is a bit just,
yeah. I mean, I had an allopathic doctor in Palm Springs recently say something that really made me feel better. And I was talking to him about natural solutions, and he just said, look, I'm an allopathic doctor. This is how we treat people. And if you want the kind of support you're talking about, I encourage that, but you need keep your naturopath or keep your functional medicine doctor. And so I've transitioned completely to functional medicine doctors. The problem is, it's expensive. So there are some genetic tests you can take as of late that are starting to be developed for mental health. There are some direct testing labs on my website. I have a link to yourlabwork.com that helps so you can get some of this direct lab testing that your doctor won't do. For example, if you want to get your thyroid tested before you go on a medication, your doctor will just test like this top line thyroid. And if you go to a functional medicine doctor or get direct testing, they test like 6 layers down, your antibodies, your T3, your T4, and you find more out about that. You can get the MTHFR testing. A lot of them allopathic doctors testing for D3 now, but what they don't tell you is you should probably take D3 with K2 because it assimilates better. So it's interesting. It's almost overwhelming, but one of the reasons why I'm here today, and one of the reasons why not only did I launch my own supplement company, but I'm trying to also build it to be a resource for that.
I was going to say, it sounds fantastic and just full of a lot of great information. And we'll definitely share some of the links to some of these, like, is it in like a blog format? Can we share that? Or we can just share the page, I'm sure, on the uplifting content.
Yeah. Under resources on the VRYeveryday site.
Gotcha.
Not everything.
Well, we'll definitely have the link to the website in the show notes for this so people can find it. But it's just all very necessary stuff for me, very interesting stuff to learn. I constantly go, because I'm a vegetarian, and I go, and I also, So I wonder whether, sometimes I'm missing out on things. So I think it's important to get blood tests. And I go and they're always fine. Like all my levels are fine. But sometimes I'm like also really tired. And sometimes I have mood issues. And so it's interesting to hear you say this, because I'm like, I guess my general doctor's just doing the very surface level tests. And perhaps I need a better, a deeper understanding through some of these tests. So I definitely want to look into that.
Absolutely. I would say I just did a panel a couple of months ago at a vegan festival in New York called Mental Health Nutrition for Vegans. I've been starting to teach mental health nutrition. And one of the things that I had a great panel, a doctor, someone about mood, gut health, and they did talk a lot about the methylated B for vegans, or vegetarians. And vegans too, if you're not getting like the proper omegas, cause brain fog and brain issues and depression. But the B vitamins are really important. And if you're vegetarian, definitely methylated B.
Gotcha. Yep. Thank you. So tell me about how you launched, or like the journey with VRYeveryday, your supplement line. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so I was living in Joshua Tree, and I had done all this research, as we know, and I just said, I want to bring this back to people. You go into you go into Whole Foods or into the health food stores, like aisles and aisles, and it's super overwhelming. So I wanted something that was really focused on mental health and mood balancing. So I started doing a lot of research on the actual content, as we've talked about, or like what's in the formulas and everything. But I also had to then, like, I'm so used to doing brands for other people and developing brands and like doing marketing and branding and expansion and everything. But I got to tell you, when it came to my own, it was really intimidating. And so I started doing the research first on like, where should I get this manufactured? So this is manufactured in the US. It's with a company that's been around for 50 years. I trust what they do. I trust their sourcing. They package everything. They seal it. It's in a GMP facilitated lab. And I've worked with them directly with my knowledge and some of the books and everything that I've read, and then their people at the we put the formulas together. So that was one, and then the other thing was launching it. It was just sort of the spark of an idea, and I mean, I honestly, I mentioned it to someone that I knew in passing, and he said, "Well, send me the marketing plan." And so, all right, and he basically said, this is pretty great. Let's get you to market. So he invested a little bit of money, and that was in 2017. And 6 months later, I launched.
Wow, that's incredible. That's a really fast turnaround. Congrats.
Thank you. Considering we changed the name, I didn't have all the formulas down. I didn't know what the branding was. All the colors are Joshua Tree sunset colors.
And I have to say, Rynda knows I'm a massive fan. I have a property out in Joshua Tree and love it. And so I'm actually going to hopefully connect with you this weekend, which is fabulous. But this
is what the website looks like.
That's beautiful. It's a picture of a Joshua Tree out there in the desert. Gorgeous. Oh, I love it. She's got pictures of it all over the place on mugs and things. Well, congrats on getting that out there. And what's the feedback that you've been getting since you've launched it?
Oh, I've been getting great feedback. I got to tell you, being a solo entrepreneur at this point, it can be difficult. I mean, I'm doing everything right now. And the feedback I get from my musicians community who take it when they're on tour, to like a mom that sent me a private message saying that she has her daughter using Serenity because she was like afraid to go to, she got into cheerleading, but she was having anxiety. So she takes Serenity before she goes to cheerleading practice, and she feels better. And to other people that are in 12-step recovery or are still struggling with that part of their recovery, and they've taken it, to people that have gotten off meds, to people who have tried it first. I mean, I don't even have all the feedback on my website. I'm so
I think it needs to go on there so that people can really understand the impact, the effects that it's having. And I'm really excited to try it myself when we meet this weekend. I look forward to getting some. And by the time this episode comes out, I would have already been able to try them. So I'll share my feedback from it too. And I just wanted to. Was we going to say something?
I was going to say, I do have a lot of testimonials on there, and some on my Instagram and stories under testimonials. I do have testimonials up there, but I also, some of the private ones of like people that are really struggling, I don't put up there because
it's fair.
Private.
But it's for me, I feel the same. Just getting that feedback from people, it's really motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing with this work. And so just to know that the effect that you were hoping for is actually, it's actually working for people. That's always beautiful. And just wanted to take this moment to thank you for offering to give away a free set of the mood balancing supplements to one listener of the Uplifting Content podcast. So thank you so much for that. And that is the set that you just sort of talked us through before, the five mood balancing supplements for mental health and well-being, which include encapsulated amino acids, herbs and minerals, vitamin cofactors. It's non-GMO, vegan, yes, no gluten or soy. Quality assured manufacturing in a GMP facility in the USA. All of these products are a value of $153. So thank you, one, for offering to give me some and giving them out to someone from the podcast. So
absolutely
brilliant. I'm really looking forward to trying these. So what's next for you? First of all, congrats. I'm also definitely curious to talk to you about just your work in branding. But what's next? It sounds like you go to a lot of events. You're speaking on people's podcasts, but like, is there something you've got ideas for new supplements as well? What kind of is on the horizon?
Yes, I have ideas for a handful of others. As we just launched in January of 2018, so it's been a year and a half. And I've already discovered, like I said, the methylated B, I think really helps with mental health, what you do with your gut. I have a few full powders that I'd like to, I have my brain explodes with the possibilities because I'm finding these really work well, but there's other things now that I want to create as well. I want to build the site to be a bit more robust for all the stuff we've talked about. Mm-hmm. But my bigger goal is, if I can't, because it is just me, so I'm not being able to put all the content in there yet. And that's why I do podcasts and video interviews and stuff like this. I speak at events. I spoke at South by Southwest this year, Vegan Fest. And so to continue to do that and really spread the word on, mental health, nutrition, and biochemical recovery is my bigger mission. I still get to work with a handful of music artists because that's my first love. So that's really, I get to do that too at the same time.
Very cool. And just before we wrap up, tell us about this idea around being a catalyst. Are you a catalyst? This is one of these things that I wanted to touch on in the interview, but I wasn't sure if it meant you as a catalyst or, yes. Tell me, share with me, you being a catalyst, Rynda.
Well, that kind of goes back to the conversation we had at the beginning of catalyst, which is turning ideas into reality. Mm-hmm. So that is my career has been so vast all over the place, music business, branding, speaking, I've lived in Paris and worked for tech companies. I've done music it's all over the place. And so for me, people kept asking me, what do you do? What do you do? And so I had to narrow it to, catalyst, strategist, speaker, entrepreneur, which is still crazy, right? Mm-hmm. But catalyst for me is really about, creating transformation, but not only for myself, helping other people create transformation, whether it's through my supplements or through working with them directly as a brand. That's what being a catalyst means to me.
Brilliant. I love it. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us today and sharing that information. I'm really looking forward to trying these supplements for my own mental well-being. There's definitely times where I need a bit of serenity and just all of those things. So I will definitely be giving a review. But lovely speaking to you. We'll have links to all of your website and everything like that in the show notes. So please be sure to check that out and enter to win this great giveaway. Rynda, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I will see you all next week, or you will hear from me, depending on how you're getting this interview. Speak to you soon. Bye.